In a small town where the air is thick with secrets, a chilling legend has been passed down for generations. They call him the Demon Child. It's a name that sends shivers down the spines of the locals, a name that's whispered in hushed tones, and a name that's etched into the collective memory of this sleepy town. The story begins on a crisp autumn evening, with the sun setting over the horizon like a burning ember. The streets are empty, save for the occasional passerby, and the houses seem to loom over the sidewalks like sentinels. It's a time of year when the nights grow longer and the darkness seems to press in on all sides. This is the perfect setting for a legend like the Demon Child, a creature said to be born from the very depths of hell. According to local lore, he was a malevolent entity, a being of pure malice, who roamed the earth, spreading terror and despair wherever he went. His existence was a blight on the town, a constant reminder of the darkness that lurked just beyond the edge of town. But the Demon Child was more than just a myth, more than just a cautionary tale told to frighten children into behaving. He was a real entity, a being of flesh and blood, who walked among the living, leaving a trail of death and destruction in his wake. As the years went by, the legend of the Demon Child faded into the background, relegated to the realm of myth and legend. But the townspeople knew the truth, knew that he was out there, waiting patiently, biding his time, until the perfect moment to strike. It was this knowledge that drove Emily, a young detective, to take on the case. She had always been fascinated by the legend of the Demon Child, and she was determined to uncover the truth behind the myth. With a fierce determination burning in her heart, she set out to investigate the strange occurrences that had been plaguing the town. Emily was no stranger to the supernatural. She had grown up in this town, surrounded by the whispers and warnings of the locals. But she had always been skeptical, always questioning the truth behind the legends. Now, however, she was faced with a reality that would change her life forever. As she walked through the streets, the darkness seemed to press in on her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She quickened her pace, her heart pounding in her chest, until she reached the town's local cemetery. It was a place of reverence, a place where the living came to pay their respects to the dead. But Emily was not here to pay her respects. She was here to uncover the truth. With a deep breath, she stepped through the gates and made her way to the oldest part of the cemetery. It was a place where the tombstones were weathered, where the names were worn, and where the stories were etched into the stone. As she walked, the silence was oppressive, and the shadows seemed to deepen. She walked past row after row of graves, until she came to a tombstone that seemed to leap out at her. It was old, ancient even, and the inscription was worn, but she could make out the words. They read, "Here lies the child of darkness, a being of pure malice, born from the depths of hell, and forever doomed to roam." Emily's heart skipped a beat as she read the inscription. This was it, the proof she had been searching for. This was the tombstone of the Demon Child, and it was a warning that the legend was more than just a myth. As she stood there, the darkness seemed to close in around her, and she couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. She knew that she had to leave, had to get out of there before it was too late, but she couldn't tear her eyes away from the tombstone, couldn't tear her mind away from the truth. What if the legend is more than just a myth? What if it's a warning? What if the Demon Child is real, and he's coming for us? The questions swirled in her mind, and she knew that she had to find the answers. With a newfound sense of determination, she turned to leave, but as she did, she caught a glimpse of something out of the corner of her eye. It was a figure, tall and imposing, with eyes that glowed like embers in the dark. It was a figure that seemed to be watching her, waiting for her to make her next move, and as she turned to face it, she knew that she was in grave danger. The figure began to move towards her, its eyes fixed on hers, and Emily knew that she had to get out of there, fast. With a burst of adrenaline, she turned and ran, the darkness closing in around her like a shroud. She didn't stop until she reached the safety of her car, where she locked herself inside, gasping for breath. As she caught her breath, she knew that she had uncovered the truth. The legend of the demon child was real, and it was coming for her. With a newfound sense of purpose, she started the engine and sped away from the cemetery, determined to uncover the truth behind the legend and to stop the demon child before it was too late. Emily's search for the truth about the demon child took her down a dark and winding road. She spent countless hours poring over old town records, scouring the dusty shelves of the local library, and talking to the elderly residents who still remembered the days when the legend was born. As she delved deeper into the town's history, Emily began to uncover a story that was both fascinating and terrifying. It started with a young boy named Malcolm, who lived in the town during a time of great turmoil and superstition. Malcolm's parents were poor and struggling to make ends meet, and the boy himself was born with a rare genetic disorder that made him appear different. The townspeople, fueled by fear and ignorance, began to whisper that Malcolm was a demon, a child of the devil himself. As Emily read through the old records, she discovered that Malcolm's fate was sealed the moment he was accused of being a demon. The townspeople, driven by a sense of righteousness and a desire to protect themselves from the perceived evil, banded together to take justice into their own hands. Malcolm was brutally murdered, his body left to rot in the town square as a warning to any others who might be similarly afflicted. But as Emily dug deeper, she started to experience strange occurrences that made her question her own sanity. She would find herself wandering the deserted streets at night, searching for something she couldn't quite remember. She would hear whispers in her ear, soft and raspy, urging her to keep searching for the truth. And she would see Malcolm's face, a faint image that seemed to appear in the shadows and disappear just as quickly. Emily tried to shake off the feeling that something was off, but it only seemed to intensify as she continued her research. She began to wonder if she was somehow connected to the demon child legend, if she was being drawn into a world that was both real and supernatural. And as she stood in the town square staring at the very spot where Malcolm's body was left to rot, she felt a chill run down her spine. She was getting close to the truth. She was sure of it. But what she didn't know was that she was being watched, that there were eyes upon her, waiting for her to uncover the secrets that had been hidden for so long. And as she turned to leave, she saw a figure standing in the shadows, a figure that seemed to be watching her every move. Emily's heart was racing as she turned to run, but her feet seemed rooted to the spot. She couldn't move, couldn't look away from the figure that seemed to be drawing her in with an otherworldly power. And as she stood there, frozen in fear, she felt a presence behind her, a presence that seemed to be whispering in her ear. "You're getting close," the voice said, its tone low and menacing. "But are you ready for what you're about to find out?" Emily spun around, but there was no one there. The voice seemed to come from all around her, echoing off the buildings and the trees. And as she stood there trying to make sense of what was happening, she felt a hand grab her arm, pulling her back into the darkness. "You shouldn't have come here," the voice said, its tone dripping with malice. "Now you'll never leave." As Emily was dragged away, she knew that she was in grave danger. She had uncovered a secret that was meant to remain buried, and now she was paying the price. But as she struggled against her captors, she felt a spark of determination ignite within her. She would escape. She would find a way to uncover the truth about the demon child legend. And she would make sure that no one else suffered the same fate as Malcolm, the boy who was accused of being a demon. But as she was dragged deeper into the shadows, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that she was being led further into the heart of darkness. And she wondered, with a growing sense of dread, if she would ever make it out alive. The question hung in the air, a haunting reminder that Emily was in over her head. And as the darkness closed in around her, she felt a presence watching her, waiting for her to succumb to the darkness that had consumed Malcolm so many years ago. The demon child legend was real, and Emily had stumbled right into the heart of it. But as she stood there, frozen in fear, she knew that she had to keep going. She had to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. And as the darkness closed in around her, she whispered a single word, a word that seemed to echo through the ages: Malcolm. Emily's investigation had been going on for weeks, and the more she dug, the more she realized that the legend of the demon child was not just a mere myth. It was a twisted tale that had been etched into the very fabric of her town's history. And now, she was about to uncover a dark secret that would change everything. It started with a series of gruesome murders that seemed to be connected to the demon child legend. At first, Emily thought it was just a copycat killer trying to get attention. But as she delved deeper, she realized that the murders were not just random acts of violence. They were a twisted game being played by the killer, who was obsessed with the legend. The bodies were found in the same locations where the demon child's victims were said to have been buried. The same symbols were carved into their skin, the same rituals were performed, and the same eerie feeling of dread settled over the town like a shroud. It was as if the killer was trying to recreate the very same horror that had been unleashed all those years ago. Emily's gut told her that this was more than just a series of murders. It was a message, a warning, a call to action, and she was determined to unravel the truth behind it. She spent countless hours poring over the evidence, talking to witnesses, and researching the history of the demon child. And then, she got a break. A local resident came forward with a cryptic message that had been left at the scene of the latest murder. It was a message that seemed to point to a specific location, a location that Emily had been investigating for weeks. Her heart racing, she made her way to the spot, her mind racing with possibilities. As she arrived at the location, she noticed something strange. A small inscription was carved into the wall, a message that seemed to be addressed to her. It read, "The truth is in the shadows." Emily's skin crawled as she realized that the killer was playing a cat and mouse game with her. They were leaving her clues, taunting her, and pushing her to the edge. And then she saw him, a figure, tall and imposing, with eyes that seemed to bore into her soul. He was the killer, and he was waiting for her. Emily's heart was pounding as she approached him, her mind racing with questions. Who was he? Why was he doing this? And what did he want from her? The killer turned to face her, his eyes glinting with a sinister light. And in that moment, Emily realized that she was staring into the face of her own worst nightmare. The killer was not just any ordinary murderer. He was a descendant of Malcolm, the man responsible for the demon child's reign of terror all those years ago. The killer's eyes seemed to bore into Emily's soul as he spoke. "You see, Emily, my family has been wronged for far too long. We've been hunted, persecuted, and silenced. And now, it's time for revenge." Emily's mind reeled as she tried to process the killer's words. Revenge? Against whom? And why? As the killer's words hung in the air, Emily realized that she was standing at a crossroads. She could back down, run away, and leave the truth behind. Or she could stand her ground, face the killer, and confront the dark forces that had haunted her town for centuries. The choice was hers, and the fate of her town hung in the balance. In the end, Emily mustered up the courage to confront the killer, to face the darkness head on. And as she did, she realized